Shabbat Shalom. At the end of Parshat Mishpatim, which is this week's Parsha, we have what amounts to a covenant ceremony where the laws embodied in Parshat Mishpatim, which have their origins in Sinai, the entire civil law, is ratified by Israel, particularly through the agency of Moshe. And the Torah tells us that Moshe comes to the top of the mountain, and there at the top, there is the cloud of God. And God is in the midst of that cloud. And for 6 days, the cloud is on the top of the mountain, and Moshe patiently waits. And finally, on the 6th day, God calls Moshe into the cloud. And the Torah says something that looks like a mystical experience. Umar'eh kevod Adonai, and the appearance of the kevod Adonai, of the glory of God, God's physical manifestation. The appearance of it was ke'esh ochelet barosh ahar, was as a devouring fire at the top of the mountain. In other words, God's invisible presence was made visible by the fire. And I find it curious that throughout the Talmud and Midrash, not a single rabbinic figure comments on this Eish Ochelet, this devouring fire. Silence. And the Torah commentators of medieval Judaism, silence. The rabbis are silent, medievals are silent. But then, in the 18th century, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev comes to our rescue, the great Hasidic master, who understands this Eish Ochelet as a metaphor. It is symbolic of that which connects us deeply and intimately with God. An Eish Ochelet, a fire which devours. He says, the way that we connect to God is through tefillah, through avodah, through worship, prayer. Prayer is the medium of achieving communion with God. But that experience of prayer has got to be like this Eish Ochelet. It has to be a devouring fire. Your soul must be on fire. And if it is, then you know that your worship of God is proper. This is the worship that God wants. But if you don't feel that flame, if you're not impassioned by prayer, if it's flat, that's not what God wants. And you don't feel the presence of God. To see the invisible power of God is through the metaphor of the soul on fire. May we all be worthy of this and be able to experience that passion as taught us by Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev. Shabbat Shalom. May you have a Zis and Shabbos, and I'll see you in Shul.